I'm Nicole Burley. It is Wednesday, August 18th. This is Rush Hour. Those top stories in just a moment, but let's start tonight with the latest news on the ground in Afghanistan. Tension and chaos still overwhelming the country as armed Taliban militants patrol the streets, the group promising to respect human rights. As reports surface, groups of armed men are going door to door seeking out anyone who worked with U.S. troops or the recently deposed government. Right now, it's unclear if those are official Taliban fighters. Meanwhile, a rare protest against the Taliban as demonstrators replace the group's flag with the official Afghan flag. Cell phone footage from the protest showing Taliban militants firing into the air, attacking people with batons. A local health official says at least one person was killed. The incoming Taliban regime still shrouded in secrecy. A senior spokesperson saying the exact power structure is unclear, but, quote, there will be no democratic system at all. Meanwhile, President Ashraf Ghani, exiled in the UAE, speaking for the first time since the Taliban takeover, saying he fled the presidential palace with hundreds of millions of dollars. All the while, evacuation flights continue around the clock. But the State Department says the Taliban is hampering those efforts, declaring in a security alert today, quote, the U.S. government cannot ensure safe passage to the airport. And as those evacuation flights pour out of Afghanistan, we are beginning to hear from some of the people crammed on board those planes with little more than the clothing on their backs, hoping to build a new life in an unfamiliar new country. News Nation's Joe Khalil live tonight at Dulles Airport outside D.C., where some of those refugees arrived in the U.S. Joe, you spoke with some of those evacuees.
Yeah, that's right, Nicole, and more are coming every day. We know at least 2,000 are here already. A lot of the time, their first steps on American soil are here at Dulles Airport outside of Washington, D.C. Today, we did meet up with a group of some of these Afghan refugees, really striking how many young children, 2, 3, 4 years old, sometimes even younger, that we saw today who've also made this perilous journey. We got a chance to talk to a 16-year-old boy. His father was an engineer on the ground in Afghanistan, helping the American forces there. That's why the family was able to get out. We're not going to say his name or where his family is staying just for their security, but here's a bit of our conversation with him.
Are you seeing on TV what's happening now in Kabul? And
yes.
What are you thinking? What do you feel when you see these things now?
Now I am feeling very bad about my relatives in Afghanistan. I am unsafe about Afghans that they are in Afghanistan and their life is in danger. Now in the airport of Afghanistan, you are seeing lots of people that they want to go out of the country, but they don't have any chance to.
Before you left, what was the situation? What was it like in Afghanistan before you left?
Before coming here, the situation wasn't good because we know that it will be a risk for us for being in Afghanistan. And when my father told me that we are going to America, it was the best day for me.
Now, what struck me talking to him is just how poised he was, that young kid being so young and going through the journey that he and his family did, coming here with little more than the clothes that were on their backs and not much else. We talked to a couple of others. He and the others we spoke to are eventually going to be resettled at some point in California, but he did say a lot of them are concerned about what they're hearing from relatives back home. We've heard, despite what we're hearing from the administration, that they are concerned. They're hearing that Taliban fighters are going door to door in some of their villages and looking for people who've helped the U.S. war effort there. Certainly, even though they're here now, reason to be concerned about what's happening back home in Afghanistan. Nicole?
Yeah, Joe, such a powerful firsthand account there. Thank you. Well, we are also live tonight in North Carolina, where there is a state of emergency after the remnants of Tropical Storm Fred bombarded that state. And we're at the newly formed Calder fire, exploding in size and raging right now. But for the moment, let's stick with Afghanistan. News Nation's Allison Harris live tonight from the White House. Allison, the president not backing down in a new interview late today.
Nicole, the president not at all backing down. He's not calling this a failure. He's blaming the Afghans for not using the weapons the U.S. gave them and their training by U.S. forces over 2 decades to be able to fight the Taliban. The president saying chaos was expected as the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan. President Biden did not take any questions from reporters today following his remarks on COVID from the White House. Instead, we're hearing from him tonight in his first interview since that Taliban takeover. The president saying in this interview tonight he does not believe the withdrawal could have been handled better, saying he knew that there would be chaos and instability no matter what.
When you look at what's happened over the last week, was it a failure of intelligence, planning, execution, or judgment?
Look, I don't think it was a failure. Look, it was a simple choice, George. When the Taliban, let me put it another way. When you had the government of Afghanistan, the leader of that government getting in a plane and taking off and going to another country, when you saw the significant collapse of the Afghan troops we had trained, up to 300,000 of them, just leaving their equipment and taking off. That was, that's what happened. That's simply what happened.
But we've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you first saw those pictures?
What I thought was we have to gain control of this. We have to move this more quickly. We have to move in a way in which we can take control of that airport. And we did.
So you don't think this could have been handled, this actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes.
And there certainly is chaos ensuing in Afghanistan. President Biden also talked about the Taliban working with the U.S. to allow the safe evacuation of Americans. But he added, we're having some difficulty with the Afghan allies, those Afghan interpreters who helped U.S. troops. That continues to be a problem as Afghans with special immigrant visas are trying to get past those Taliban-controlled security checkpoints out in the country to be able to get to the airport in Kabul, to get out of the country, as Joe just talked to some of those people coming from Afghanistan. And Nicole, I have to add, the president also saying for the first time that U.S. troops will remain in Afghanistan beyond the August 31st deadline that he has set for U.S. troops to be fully withdrawn, to be able to make sure that all Americans are able to make it out of Afghanistan, notably not including Afghan allies and Afghan interpreters in that statement.
Yeah, interesting. So we know they will stay. All right, Allison, thank you. Well, as the Taliban takes over Afghanistan and the U.S. and other military forces retreat, there is that daunting prospect that other terrorist organizations will use the country as a safe haven for their operations. News Nation's Adrian Bankert joining us now. So, Adrian, this is a concern not only for the U.S., but other nations as well.
Yes, Nicole, good evening to you. State Department officials reportedly already overwhelmed with the security situation in Afghanistan. All U.S. embassy personnel have been evacuated with fears that the Taliban will reign in terror and invite other militant groups to operate there as well. The recent Taliban takeover of Afghanistan could result in the country becoming a hotbed for other terror groups, including al-Qaeda and ISIS, according to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, addressing members of the U.S. Senate, saying these groups could reassemble in Afghanistan much sooner than the 2-year timetable U.S. military intelligence officials first predicted. On Tuesday, NATO emphasized the need to rely on the international community for protection.
In the last 2 decades, there have been no terrorist attack on Allied soil organized from Afghanistan. Those now taking power have the responsibility to ensure that international terrorists do not regain a foothold.
The swift overtake of Kabul and the presidential palace, along with over 30 provinces by the Taliban, led to an alarm that guerrilla soldiers might create a safe haven for a number of known terrorist groups. Though in an agreement reached by the Trump administration in 2020 with Taliban leaders, U.S. soldiers would leave if the Taliban agreed that no terror groups would be allowed to operate in Afghanistan.
We remain committed to combating terrorism in Afghanistan and will not tolerate a government that allows Afghanistan to once again become a safe haven for terrorists. As President Biden said, the United States will maintain a laser focus on our counterterrorism mission in Afghanistan and in other parts of the world.
At least one British official says it's possible the Taliban in 2021 is more reasonable than in years past.
Because if they govern in an inclusive way and they are able to bring the country together, then there's a better chance, I suspect, that terrorist organizations will not find a home in Afghanistan.
And that British leader, as well as others that we've heard from over the past several days, have said that currently the streets are peaceful in Kabul. What is difficult to predict is what rules will be in place for this new government. The Taliban is made up of different tribes. They are attempting to form one government, but those tribes may have different ideas about who is allowed in and who is not. Nicole.
Yeah, Adrian, almost impossible to predict those rules. All right, thank you. Well, devastating wildfires continue burning across Northern California. The Dixie Fire scorching 1,000 square miles. Firefighters also battling the Calder Fire. This started over the weekend. High winds are expected throughout the next few days. News Nation's Jeannie Nguyen from our Sacramento station KTXL is in El Dorado County as many people are evacuating their homes.
Right now, I'm standing in a parking lot in a Cameron Park evacuation center, and as you can see, it's filling up pretty quickly as hundreds of people had to evacuate their homes last night as a Caldor fire brew overnight. Now, some people I spoke with tell me they're optimistic that their home will make it, while others are just hoping for the best. And right now, the Red Cross has told me that they've accepted a little more than 100 people, and they're still looking for towel donations. And while they have gotten a lot of donations so far, they say they're running out of towels and they would appreciate any towel donations. Back to you, Nicole.
All right, Jeannie, thank you. Well, that fire just one of many burning across California and really the entire West. News Nation's Nancy Liu live tonight from Santa Monica. Nancy, how is this constant firefight impacting the people and the resources on the front lines there?
Well, Nicole, a lot of equipment and crews from Southern California have been deployed to the north, and that includes an engine and 4 firefighters from here at Station 1 in Santa Monica. The situation may require even more assets being sent to the north.
There's multiple large fires across the north state of California, and we're all competing for the same precious resources.
CAL FIRE is clearly stretched thin, and yesterday's explosive doubling of the Caldor fire to more than 53,000 acres required a significant shifting of resources to join the fight. Caldor is just the latest big fight for CAL FIRE, which has also been battling the massive Dixie Fire and nearly a dozen other major incidents, mostly in Northern California. Dixie has been burning for over a month. It's already destroyed about 800 square miles to become the second largest fire in state history. More than 6,000 firefighters are assigned to Dixie alone. Crews from Utah and other states are here to help, but the outlook is worrisome with the peak of fire season still weeks away.
Not only are the resources stretched, but they're being used in a very strategic and surgical way. The unfortunate thing is that these fires continue to get bigger.
Governor Gavin Newsom has declared states of emergency in numerous northern counties, and that secures federal funding. However, it remains to be seen whether there'll be enough personnel if the fire situation gets even worse. Nicole?
Yeah, huge concern there, Nancy. All right, thank you. Let's turn now to Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon in the Weather Center. Albert, we just heard Nancy say peak fire season is still weeks away. Is there any relief for these areas?
Yeah, where the active fires are right now, Nicole, no rain at least the next 7 days, and the winds stay up. The winds right now out of the northeast. Look at the satellite picture, and all of that is smoke moving through the Central Valley and also the Bay Area. As you mentioned, the winds are going to stay up tomorrow, at least up to 40 miles per hour for portions of Northern California. That's why red flag warnings are in place. From fire weather to tropical weather, we've got a hurricane in the Caribbean Sea headed towards the Yucatan Peninsula. This is Grace with 80-mile-per-hour winds making a second landfall late Friday into early Saturday between Tampico, Mexico and Veracruz. And oh, by the way, if you're in the New England states or the Northeast, we have to now keep an eye on Henri. Henri, a tropical storm not too far from Bermuda, but as we head into late in the weekend, early next work week, a chance of a strong tropical storm, if not Category 1 hurricane, could impact the northeastern New England. So areas from New Jersey to Maine, got to watch this one in the coming days, Nicole.
All right, Albert, thank you. Well, National Weather Service teams visiting parts of the southeast today to survey the damage in the wake of Tropical Depression Fred. This is drone footage from Georgia. Shows A tornado's path flattening the land there in its wake. North Carolina facing intense flooding. Dozens of people had to be evacuated. At least 35 people are unaccounted for. Meantime, search and rescue continues tonight in Haiti, where Tropical Storm Grace hit the island yesterday, throwing a wrench in those recovery efforts. Many people now living outside in camps like this because their homes are destroyed. The U.S. Southern Command has stepped in to help. Today, the Coast Guard helped with medical evacuations. Several Navy ships with supplies are expected to arrive later this week with that much-needed aid. News Nation's Hawker Vanguard from our Charlotte station WJZY at the Port-au-Prince airport, where several military planes arrived.
Here at the Port-au-Prince airport, we have seen air service resume after the tropical depression swept over the island yesterday. Now, over here to my left, there is a large cargo aircraft lowering its rear hatches, getting ready to unload tons of air cargo. This is medical supplies, shelter, things that the people of Lakai need the most. Over to the right, we have another U.S. Air Force cargo jet with a convoy of vehicles ready to send help. Over on the left-hand side, we have more ambulances queued up, ready to take victims, people who did not have adequate medical care out in the field, being brought to hospitals here in the capital city. More help and more hope as the people of Lakai recover from this torrential disaster. At the Port-au-Prince airport, I'm Hawker Vanguard. Back to you.
All right, Hawker, thank you. Let's still head tonight on a rush hour. You know, of course, there's that nationwide push to increase COVID vaccinations. Well, a treatment is being promoted to save lives of people already infected with the virus. After the break, we're diving into Regeneron, what it is, how it works, and how almost anyone can get it. And later, singer R. Kelly has been behind bars for 2 years, but today, testimony started in his long-awaited trial. We are live with what happened in court today. Now to the latest from the pandemic. U.S. health officials unveiling plans to provide COVID booster shots to all Americans. Those third doses could be ready as soon as next month. And the Biden administration will now require nursing home workers to be vaccinated or lose federal funding. And don't expect masks to go anywhere on public transit. The TSA extending its mask mandate into mid-January. And as parts of the country are seeing another rise in COVID cases, people are turning to a specific kind of treatment to stave off the worst symptoms. Antibody treatments, like those offered by Regeneron and Eli Lilly, went largely unused for months, but now they are certainly having a moment. News Nation's Brian Enton live tonight in Florida. Brian, one state there where those treatments are really taking off.
Oh, yeah, Nicole, Regeneron definitely getting a lot of attention down here. The state has opened up pop-up clinics, and in strip malls like the one behind me, there are even small clinics where you can just show up, you get hooked up to an IV for 21 minutes, and you can receive the Regeneron.
As you may have heard by now, I have tested positive for COVID-19.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott positive for COVID and now taking Regeneron. If given within 10 days of COVID symptoms, the drug, which is made up of monoclonal antibodies, is shown to cut rates of hospitalization and death by 70%, according to some studies. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has been a huge proponent, even opening pop-up Regeneron sites.
Really, it's turbocharging their immune system and the antibodies that are able to respond. So it's been very, very effective.
Did they tell you about monoclonal antibodies?
Mono what? In Florida, there are even TV commercials for Regeneron.
You need to call your doctor now and see if you can get monoclonal antibodies.
And the monoclonal antibodies used in Regeneron are becoming increasingly easy to get. Take a look. This website, you put in your zip code, you click search. All of these dots are places in our area you can either show up or make an appointment and get the treatment. In this Lauderhill, Florida strip mall, we found one of the clinics administering Regeneron.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nurse practitioner Gina Day says her phone is ringing off the hook for the treatment. How in demand is the Regeneron right now?
Extremely in demand. Extremely in demand.
In the room next door, we met 23-year-old Heather. She's COVID positive and hooked up to an IV, receiving Regeneron. It'll take 21 minutes, and she's hoping it'll cut down on the time she's sick.
This doesn't take like the full 2 weeks or 10 days or however long it takes. It can just be quicker, so I don't have to have feel so crappy the whole time.
In your experience, how effective is it?
As soon as you get sick, if you can find a place, get treated, then your outcomes are a lot better. I've had folks that have come in, they've had the treatment, they say they're better the next day.
And Heather, who you saw in the piece there, she is not vaccinated. She says she cannot get the vaccine because of a nerve disease she has. And if you're wondering how much Regeneron costs, well, it's actually free for U.S. citizens because the federal government bought a stockpile of Regeneron and they actually reimburse the clinics that give it out. Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, hearing better the next day, I understand why people want that. All right, Brian, thank you. We do have some breaking news right now. More than 10,000 students in a Florida school district have to quarantine as board members just voted to bring back a mask mandate against the governor's orders. And this all affects Hillsborough County. Let's give you an aerial look at just one location giving out right now free walk-in COVID tests. You can see the line well out the door there. News Nation's Jeff Patterson with our Tampa station WFLA joining us live. So Jeff, parents very opinionated about these mask mandates and requirements.
No question about it. Let me just give you a little perspective here. Hillsborough County is the county that surrounds and includes Tampa, Florida. So it's a very densely populated area. But as you just mentioned, 10,000 students, faculty, and staff on quarantine right now, just after the start of school because they have been exposed to COVID. There are also increasing numbers right now of people who have tested positive for the COVID vaccine. The hospital rate is increasing, and the positivity rate for COVID-19 right now in Hillsborough County stands at more than 27%. And last year, at the height, what we thought was the height of the pandemic, there was grave concern over a 7% positivity rate. So a 27% positivity rate here in Hillsborough County created this emergency meeting of the Hillsborough County School Board. And certainly those 10,000 students, faculty, and staff out in quarantine created concern with the school board. So they just voted a short time ago to reinstitute a mandatory mask policy. The only way you can opt out is if you have a medical excuse, a medical exemption, so that you don't have to wear a mask in school. But parents on both sides of this issue and even physicians came out today, and there was a lot of emotion surrounding this issue.
We've come to ask you to put back the mask mandate. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all persons in school, regardless of vaccination status, wear masks.
Children deserve to see each other, to smile, to socialize, and to develop. The consequences may not be evident today, but will be in the future if we don't stop these divisive measures.
So we heard today also from an emergency room physician who says that he has had to sign death certificates for a 37-year-old mother and a 45-year-old father, as well as a number of other people. He says that this Delta variant is hitting this community like it never has before during the entire pandemic. That's why there was the concern. The Hillsborough County School Board does face sanctions now from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has threatened to pull away state funding. Of course, President Joe Biden says if the state pulls away funding from a local county school district, the federal government will reimburse that. So a lot more going on this. Additionally, there are currently court cases progressing about the governor's authority to say and do what he has related to mandatory mask mandates. So much more to come on this.
Oh, yeah, we will certainly hear more on this. All right, Jeff, thank you. Still ahead tonight on Rush Hour, new details today in that ongoing sexual assault case against a major league pitcher. What happened today when Trevor Bauer's lawyer cross-examined the alleged victim? Plus, gut-wrenching video going viral on social media. A former American Idol star begging for her babies. After the break, why the state took them into custody. Oh, welcome back. Here's what's happening in your nation right now. President Biden not backing down on his decision to pull U.S. forces from Afghanistan, saying chaos was always expected. Meanwhile, as evacuation flights continue around the clock, the State Department says the Taliban is hampering those efforts, especially for Afghans with special immigrant visas. And Afghanistan's former president, who is now being sheltered in the UAE, is denying reports he fled the presidential palace with hundreds of millions of dollars. The Calder fire continues to grow in Northern California, the state's newest inferno, covering at least 80 square miles. It's already ravaged the Grizzly Flats community of about 1,200 people. 2 of them are in the hospital with serious injuries, and right now nearly 6,000 homes and structures are under threat. And visitation today for a Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty. 29-year-old Officer Ella French was shot and killed earlier this month during a traffic stop. Her partner was critically wounded and is still hospitalized. Two brothers are facing charges in the shootings and are being held without bond. A woman accusing Major League Baseball player Trevor Bauer of sexual assault says she needed a protection order against the Dodgers pitcher. She was cross-examined by Bauer's attorney for a third straight day, testifying that she feared he could be planning something harmful after he stopped trying to check on her. Bauer's representatives say his encounters with the woman were consensual. Bauer is currently on leave from the team as the MLB investigates those allegations. Well, let's turn now to New York, where R. Kelly's long-awaited sex trafficking trial is now underway. The R&B singer has been sitting behind bars for nearly 2 years. He's accused of grooming and manipulating children in what prosecutors call a criminal enterprise. News Nation's Tom Negovin live at the federal courthouse in Brooklyn tonight. Tom, what did we hear today during those opening statements?
Opening statements here today, Nicole. Prosecutors telling jurors this case is about a predator. These are the most serious charges R. Kelly has ever faced, and even an acquittal here may not set him free. A crush of media as attorneys for the jailed R&B star arrive at the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse.
I'm going to have his day in court. The justice will be served, and you'll get to hear the whole story.
The artist, known for hits like I Believe I Can Fly, at the center of a racketeering case. Prosecutors say the 54-year-old used his fame to sexually and psychologically control children, girls and boys, even recording sex acts with minors.
It was important to be here on the first day because we've been in this journey for so long, over 5 years.
Kelly's lawyers have pushed back, calling the accusers groupies. He was acquitted of child pornography charges in Chicago in 2008, but the allegations never truly went away, resurfacing in the Lifetime series Surviving R. Kelly.
It's a tragic story of how none of those black girls seemed to matter to the institutions that were supposed to care for them.
Questions about the singer's behavior were first reported by music journalist Jim DeRogatis, author of Soulless, the case against R. Kelly.
The 48 women who spoke to me for my book, they're not all liars, Tom. And that's why this case is very unique. For the first time, it's not about one girl on one videotape. It's not even just about those 20 Jane Does. The federal government is alleging that Kelly's 30-year, 100 million selling career was a criminal enterprise, that he is like a mafia godfather or a drug lord who, built this entire musical career to fulfill his illegal sexual desires.
Trial is expected to last about a month. If convicted, found guilty as charged, R. Kelly faces 10 years to life behind bars. Even if he's acquitted here, he still faces sex-related counts in Illinois and Minnesota. Nicole, he has pleaded not guilty in both of those states as well.
Yeah, so many people following this trial. All right, Tom, thank you. Well, tonight, a heartbreaking story out of Florida. A former American Idol finalist fighting to get her kids back after they were taken into state custody. Police say Saisha Mercado's children showed signs of abuse, but she says those claims are false. News Nation's Janelle Ford has the details from Atlanta.
My baby is days old, and you're taking my baby away from me. You're taking my baby away from me. You have no heart.
They're heart-wrenching words captured in a now viral Instagram Live video with over 3 million views. In it, you see Manatee County, Florida sheriff's deputies stopping Saisha Mercado and her partner Tyron Diener's car for a surprise welfare check, then taking their newborn daughter.
You're so wrong. You're so wrong.
Mom may look familiar. She was a top 3 finalist on season 7 of American Idol in 2008. Now she's dealing with child custody issues for the second time this year.
My baby should be home with me, with us.
5 months ago, Mercado lost custody of her 18-month-old son after the sheriff's office got a tip to its abuse hotline saying the boy was at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital suffering from severe malnutrition. In an email, the sheriff's office said, quote, ultimately, the child, by order of a judge, was sheltered and treatment took place. The parents refused to cooperate. The couple's attorneys claim that's not the case.
False information has been presented to the court, which has unjustly separated these precious children from their family.
Not eating meat and consuming dairy is not a crime. The only thing that we have ever done as parents is make responsible decisions.
And when we asked, authorities told us that they couldn't disclose any more details about why that newborn was taken. The couple says that they're being unjustly targeted. And Nicole, this case is now in the hands of the Florida Department of Children and Families.
Yeah, Janelle, so hard to watch that video. All right, thank you. Up next in Money Nation, one of the largest cell phone carriers in the country dealing with a massive data breach tonight. What you need to know if you're a T-Mobile customer. And it still hasn't been released to the public, but Kanye West planning another listening event for his highly anticipated Donda album. And it's in a city very special to the rapper. That's ahead on Rush Hour. We are starting to learn more about that data breach affecting more than 40 million former and current T-Mobile customers. We know information was stolen from some prospective customers as well. So here with more insight on the investigation, Corey Johnson. He is money manager and host of the Daily Drill Down podcast. So Corey, tell us, what did the hackers get and what is T-Mobile doing about it?
They got a lot. They got about 48 million records about 48 million individuals, and they got a lot of information about those people. Some of those people, they got first name, last name, social security number, driver's license ID number, birth date, and some cases they didn't get that much, but they got a lot of these names, and that's a really big amount of people for T-Mobile. 7.8 million current T-Mobile subscribers. Maybe more worrisome were the 40 million people, some of whom had only just applied for T-Mobile accounts, maybe never opened an account. T-Mobile kept that information. That's what got stolen. Even prospective customers' information was stolen in this hack.
Yeah, never like to hear that social security numbers were stolen. All right, before you go, Corey, Old Navy claiming they're revolutionizing shopping for people of all sizes with their new Bod Equality line. So, Corey, we know you will be honest. Is this revolutionary, and what does it mean for the fashion industry overall?
It's a wonderful thing for human nature. It says a lot about the ability of stores to hold a lot more inventory than they used to hold in the olden days. It's a change in supply chains and delivery systems. This is also very much about the pandemic. We had the CEO of Levi's on our Drill Down podcast telling us that, get this statistic, this is a good one for a cocktail party or barbecue, whatever you got. 35% of Americans saw their waist size change after COVID. So they might have gotten skinnier, they might have gotten a little bit bigger, but 35% of Americans came out of the pandemic with a different waist size. That's really good news for the retailers who sell clothing, because people, whether they're bigger or smaller, they want clothes that fit. Maybe they're going back to work, getting ready to re-engage with society in a new outfit.
Yeah, something tells me, I feel like for most of us, it wasn't, the waistline getting smaller. But all right, Corey.
I will tell zip,
all right.
Not a word.
Corey, thank you so much. We always appreciate it. Well, next on Rush Hour, a special delivery for celebrity couple Scarlett Johansson and Colin Jost. Plus, intense moments caught on camera. Firefighters sprint for safety, nearly crushed while battling a fire. We'll tell you what happened and how they're doing tonight. Tonight in entertainment, still no new album from Kanye West, but he is having another listening session for his record titled Donda. NewsNation's Doug Cole from our Los Angeles station KTLA joining us now. So Doug, does this mean Kanye is moving out of Atlanta Stadium?
Right. Nicole, mind you, this is an album that was supposed to drop last month and still isn't out yet. This is how Kanye tests his music before it goes public. Yeah, he holds these massive listening events at football stadiums and puts on a show for audiences. Now, of course, this listening session in particular is in Chicago at Soldier Field, which is his hometown crowd. But after his first event in Atlanta, like you were alluding to, Kanye basically reworked the entire album, setting up 10 beds and a makeshift studio in the visitors' locker room, and slept there for days until it was complete. And then by the second listening party, by the time that took place, it featured a more elaborate stage show, multiple new songs, and significant track upgrades. So knowing Kanye, Nicole, there's no telling what this Chicago audience is in for.
Yeah, and there's a game this Saturday, so who knows if he's moving into Soldier Field, that might be a problem. All right, congratulations in order for celebrity couple Scarlett Johansson and Colin Jost.
You know, I second those congrats, but did any of us even know that Scarlett Johansson was pregnant? Her comedian husband, Colin Jost, from Saturday Night Live, of course, announced the news on Instagram today, stating, "Okay, we have a baby. His name is Cosmo. We love him very much. Privacy would be appreciated." Now, I suppose there were rumors in early June, to answer my question, that Scarlett might be carrying the couple's first child, and she has been in the spotlight a lot lately to promote her film Black Widow. But they were all done through Zoom and conveniently shot from the waist up. Now, we know that Scarlett and Colin have been married since October of 2020. But I was wondering, Nicole, with Colin's comedic prowess, do you think he named the baby Cosmo after Seinfeld's Cosmo Kramer?
Doug, I was just actually going to say that to you. You beat me to it. I'm wondering if that's a Cosmo Kramer reference. Who knows?
Could be, could be.
All right, Doug. So Marvel's new show, What If? It's pretty bittersweet for a lot of fans today because the second episode includes Chadwick Boseman's final performance before he passed away last year.
Yeah, you mentioned bittersweet, and understandably so. I mean, not only was Chadwick a dynamic actor on the screen, I can tell you from personal experience that every interaction I've ever had with him has been cordial and completely filled with humor. I mean, for what Hollywood offers, he was as down-to-earth as it gets. So this is the very last time that we will hear his voice in a performance. He plays the iconic Black Panther character T'Challa for 4 episodes in a Marvel animated series called What If. Episode 2 features Chadwick fully. It dropped on Disney Plus today, and the series focuses on certain heroes and what would happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe if certain events happened differently. Chadwick, we know, of course, died from colon cancer last year at the age of 43.
Yeah, you only hear like nothing but great things about him. Such a classy guy. Huge, huge loss. Doug, thank you so much. We always appreciate your time. The Downland Report starts at the top of the hour, so let's check in with Joe down in the studio for a preview.
Hello, Nicole. Tonight on the Downland Report, can we get all of our American personnel out of Afghanistan safely? And what about the promises made to Afghans helping in our fight? I'll speak with a former translator about the situation on the ground. And here at home, new terror warnings from the southern border as migrants continue to come in record numbers. We'll give you a live update from Texas. Plus, a look at the real winners after former President Trump's 2017 tax breaks. Spoiler alert, the rich got richer. We'll see you with that and more at the top of the hour. Nicole, back to you.
All right, that's shocking there, Joe. All right, Pope Francis with an urgent message about the COVID vaccine today. What the pontiff has to say about the shot that's become so highly politicized. And later, an Olympian auctions off the silver medal she just won in Tokyo. We'll tell you why and where that medal is now. Her story straight ahead. We continue tonight live from our News Nation headquarters in Chicago. Here's a look at what's going on in your nation right now. While millions of Americans have yet to get a single dose of the COVID vaccine, the Biden administration now talking booster shots. Federal officials say some Americans will be eligible for a third shot come late September. Newer data from the CDC suggests the vaccine's effectiveness may wane over time. President Biden also saying nursing homes will need to require their staff get vaccinated if they want to keep receiving Medicare and Medicaid funding. And Pope Francis trying to help overcome skepticism about the vaccine. In a video message released today, the Pope said getting vaccinated is safe, effective, and a, quote, act of love. The pontiff was vaccinated earlier this year, calling it an ethical obligation. He also emphasized the need to provide equal access to the vaccine, especially to the poor and most vulnerable. And tough news for one of my alma maters tonight. The NCAA investigating the University of Nebraska football program. It comes as a result of allegations Cornhuskers staff improperly used analysts and consultants with the knowledge of Coach Scott Frost. They're also accused of moving workouts off campus when those activities were still banned because of the pandemic. Investigators have interviewed Coach Frost, staff members, and players, and Frost has hired an attorney. 3 Texas firefighters recovering after the store awning collapsed as they were battling a fire just east of Dallas. Look at that. You can see a firefighter fall down right as that awning collapsed. One person is facing multiple charges in connection to the flames. And as always, we like to leave you with a smile whenever we can, and an Olympian from Poland is causing a lot of smiles. Javelin thrower and silver medal winner Maria Andrzejczyk of Poland auctioned off her medal to help pay for a baby's heart surgery. A Polish grocery store chain won the medal with $125,000 bid. That was also an 8-month-old baby boy can now get his life-saving surgery. Well, Andrzejczyk understands the financial and emotional impact of medical issues. The javelin thrower was diagnosed and treated for bone cancer back in 2018. And we do want to add that after winning the auction, the store chain then returned her medal to her. That is all for Rush Hour tonight. You can always follow me on social media. Just search Nicole Burley on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Donlin Report is next. Then later, On Balance with Leland Vittert, News Nation Prime, and Banfield. And of course, you can always download our News Nation Now app. And have a great Wednesday night.